Hello, everyone. So, thank you, thank you for the introduction. Thank you for joining. I love the music, by the way. Big fan. So, before we begin the coding session, and everything, I just want to talk a little bit about Deskree, talk a little bit about what we do. But first of all, I want to thank you all for coming to this event. We're super proud to work with the Vue Forge team, and thank you guys for organizing this event. You've been an amazing partner and marvelous people to work with. It's great. Probably before we go into the coding session, I just want to say uh, what makes Deskree so special as a tool and as a community. First of all, we are on a mission to truly create the backend. What I mean by truly is, in fact, every single project that you guys are doing on the platform is completely independent from each other. We, in fact, creating the infrastructure and deploy it for every single project. So we don't rent you out a space to use. We actually create the backend for you. And we do that because we believe in the ownership of the things that are done. And we believe in providing you all the tools and abilities for your projects to grow worry-free. And it's our big vision for tools like Google Cloud and AWS to be only used in advanced scenario for, very advanced tools, and instead of being like a necessary evil for any cloud app. Company wise, we're a pretty young company. We've launched our product publicly this year, and we're a small team of very passionate engineers, designers, and just generally nice people. And right now, we only have a team of 6 engineers working on the platform and 12 people in total. We're extremely community focused, and every single one of you, by building stuff on Deskree, commenting in our intercom and in Discord channel, in other aspects of community, you actually contribute to the product. We build 100% of this product based on the user feedback, and the more we can get from you, the better we can build the product. So we're super excited for that. We're also very passionate about Vue.js. So the reason why we're very passionate is, first of all, Deskree is built on Vue.js. And right now, after today's event, and with some of you experiencing issues with GitHub login, we figured that we're going to be migrating to Pinia based on a lot of feedback. So yeah. And in fact, Vue.js was the first, framework that I've learned as a developer. So about 8 years ago, I started my development journey, and I started with the front end, and I started with learning Vue.js. And that's how I figured that at that time, I was pretty limited with what I could do because I still needed to have somebody in the backend team giving me the APIs and all this stuff. And I felt limited. So at that time, I wouldn't say the idea for Deskree was emerged, but I would say that the goal of building something like that was somewhere in my mind. So another thing is, Deskree is not just for e-commerce, right? It's one of the use cases, like persisting shopping carts is one of the use cases that Deskree can be built for. And in fact, we've seen various and amazing things done on the platform, from SaaS products, marketplaces. And in fact, we'll be all excited to see you on our next workshop, which is going to be on September 14th, about using Deskree to build admin panels. So there's a lot of use cases, and we're excited to learn about new use cases that we have never thought of before together with you guys. Okay. So another thing I want to share is we have just released our pay plans today. So, and with everybody here who signed up for the event, we actually we're giving away $300 credits to each and every one of you. And you can actually view those credits applied in your account settings, and you can use that towards the premium features that we've just launched today. And in fact, we just calculated today that we gave out more than $1.5 million in credits for the participants of this event, which is a huge contribution on our end, but it's very minor contribution to how thankful we are to Vue.js community, because without it, our project wouldn't exist in the first place. So another thing that we wanted to announce, and we need your help with this, is we're building an open source UI library where the elements that you can see in Deskree web app front end, all the input fields, the graphs, and everything will be available as a library with the UI kit. So we already finished the process of designing all the elements. We have it done, but now we just need a community of passionate people to help us out to create a open source library out of it. So for anybody who has experience of contributing to open source before or wants to gain that experience, you're more than welcome to write us in Discord. We actually have a special forum for registrations, and we would love to get your contributions to that and to work closely with you on doing that. So for everybody interested, feel free to let us know. So this is everything that I wanted to share so far. There's so much more stuff that I can share about working with Deskree that we've shared on the workshops before, and I'm sure some of it has already been shared by the mentors during this event. But I'm gonna leave the stage to Daniel, who's gonna guide you through the code implementation for this exercise, and I'm gonna be here as well to answer any of your questions you might have about the platform or its capabilities. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Dmitry. All right, so I am going to share my screen here. Awesome. There it is. So the first step in solving this exercise is we wanted to, let's see here. We wanted to persist the products in their cart to Deskree whenever the user adds an item to their cart. So let's do that as step number one, okay? So the first thing that I want to do is I want to know when the user updates their cart. Now, inside of the cart store that is using the setup style, I can actually do that really easily. And you'll see a trend in the way I kind of like to interact with different API calls and things like that. So I really like to watch for changes and then just automatically run those API calls. And then you really just have to interact with the data on the client side, and your API calls are done for you. So what I'm going to do here is our products. This is in cartstore.js. Okay. This is our products. And this is where we're storing all of the products that get added to the cart. What I'm going to do is I'm going to watch products. Okay. And right now, let's just console.log cart items updated. Okay, and let's see what we get. All right, so I'll open up my project here. And then inside of the console, I will, back up in the app, I will hit add to cart. And it looks like Rocky's Bacon Hot Sauce is added to the cart, which is cool, but I did not get my console log, which is unfortunate. Let me just make sure I have the right branch checked out here, guys. Yeah, I am on 5 start, so that's cool. My dev server running? It is. Let me restart real quickly. Okay. And then I'm going to go back. Oh, right. Okay. It's the same thing I did last time. So when we were watching a array or an object, remember we have to use deep. So let me do deep is true this time. That gets me every time. And now when I add a product here, add to cart, yeah. Cart items updated. Let me make sure that just jumps to 3. It looks like it has 2 on there for some reason now, and it does jump to 3. It's just some hot module reloading. It is only happening once, which is good. Okay, so we've got our watch. So now at this point, we can make our request to Deskree, right? And I told you that a good place to do that was inside of this use Deskree composable. And the reason for that is just that's just kind of where I've consolidated all the requests to Deskree. And so I want to call update cart, right? Okay, so we can here say use Deskree dot user dot update cart. Okay, and we'll pass it the products dot value, which is the products inside of our cart here. Okay, All right, so this time we can console log over inside of this update cart function. I will console log the products that come through. And let's see what happens this time. Okay, refresh my page, add to cart. Okay, inject can only be used inside of setup or on mounted is called when there is no active component instance. What is wrong with that? We are watch to bounce. Oh, I know what. Okay, so I've called use Deskree inside of here. And I really shouldn't do that inside of watch. That needs to be directly inside of the component, the setup portion of things. So we're inside of a Pinia setup. So I'll just do this right out here, and we'll say const Deskree, because we don't want to have to use that composable every single time this thing changes. So I suppose that's kind of the issue there. So now I can just say deskree.user, and let's give that a try. Okay, you just give the page a refresh for good measure and add to cart. All right, so this time we have the addition, but we don't have the console log, which is unfortunate. So let's go here. Oh, right, because I am not logged in, and so therefore I can't update my own cart. So this was part of the boilerplate that was built in already. Okay. So since I'm not logged in, let me go ahead and log in real quick. Okay, and I already have a account set up here on my Deskree project. So I will log in, and yeah, still menu my console here, so I'll just leave that up. Uh-oh, error logging in. Let me try that one more time. And env. No, don't look. Okay, I showed my env and not my env example. So that's okay. I'm going to change my stripe key after this. No worries. But my this is correct. Okay. So why am I not being able to log in? All right. So now when I post to Deskree here, we get a it looks like a 500 error, and the response is bad request, email not found. Okay, so my email address here is incorrect, but that looks right. Let me just register with a new account. So I'll say email is test Daniel at test.com, and I'll create a password here and confirm the password, which, by the way, this is pretty cool thing with Vue Formulate. If these passwords do not match, yeah, Vue Formulate will let me know. So that's a nice little feature of Vue Formulate that you'll get to see a little later. And now after I have registered and give it a moment, yeah, you can see that I am logged in. Okay, this time when I inspect things in the console and I add an item to the cart, awesome. Okay, there are our products logged to the console. So now that we've got the products, we need to actually make the request to persist that data to Deskree. And I mentioned that we have this helper function below called db rest request. Okay, and you'll see exactly what that's calling in just a moment in terms of what's going to Deskree. I'll show it to you in the network tab. So, but I want to make the request to the. Let's see. I want to make the request to the carts endpoint. So we're saving carts. Okay, and I want to save this under the ID for the logged in user's cart. Okay, so we've already got a logged in user, and on the logged in user is a cart ID. Okay, so we can make a request there, and then we can patch we can patch that that cart because the cart already exists. And the reason why it exists is because on registration, so here under auth and then on sign up, everybody was given their own cart. So as soon as they signed up, there was this REST request to patch their user, and they were given a cart. Okay, so now down here we are just updating that cart to include the data, the items that we just put in, right? And so what I've done is I've just created a products column. So here in Deskree, this is what the carts database actually looks like, or the carts table actually looks like. It has a UID and author, which corresponds to the user who created the cart, a products, which is just a string. And so what we're going to do is we are going to JSON encode our projects and store them in this array. Okay, and it's also got a created at and an updated at. So we'll say products, and then we'll JSON.stringify the products that come through here. Now, yes, we are getting the entire product stuff here. And like Eduardo mentioned earlier, there is like a lot going on in that, right? There's a lot of data that we don't necessarily have to store to the database. We really could just store the cart IDs and then refetch the actual cart data from Contentful in order to show in the store. But just for the sake of simplicity, we're just storing all of that in the database right now. I really wouldn't recommend it for like a production level app, but it keeps us from having to make another request to Contentful and setting that up in another exercise. So for this, we're storing all of that there. But it would work the same if you stored the IDs, and then on the cart page, you would just want to refetch that data from Contentful based on what IDs were stored in your cart. Okay. All right. So now we are patching that cart, and that should get things persisted to Deskree, I believe. So this is whenever the products update, that is somebody adds something new to the cart, update the cart in Deskree, and let's just return this from the update cart function so we can get the result. And I will remove this example data here of what might be returned. Okay. All right. So let's give things a try out now in the browser. So this time when let's see, you know what? Let's do it so we can see it inside of Deskree first. When I go to my database here and look at my users, and I want to find the user with the email of, what is it? testdaniel@test.com. So testdaniel@test.com. I'm going to apply the filter, and I'm going to grab that UID. And then over here in databases, okay, I am going to get my carts. I am going to filter here, and I'm going to grab the author equals that UUID. Okay, so essentially this is my cart, right? So right now you can see that it is empty. But now when I hit add to cart in the network tab, we can see that the request was made. It has the data in there. Okay, it has see, this is the URL we're going to. So we're going to the Deskree instance /API/version1. And then this is the most important part. So in Deskree, when you want to interact with your database, you call a REST/collections endpoint. And then you specify which table you want to interact with. For us, that's carts. And the row in that table that we want to update or patch is the one with this ID here. Okay. So now over in the Deskree interface, if I were to refresh this page, we should see some more data inside of our, let's filter it once more. That's going to be author. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Now we see some of that cart data inside of our products column. Perfect. So that gets the first part of the of the problem completed. Now, there is one more other little thing we can do in here, and it's kind of what we did earlier with the debouncing, right? So right now, if I were to just like rapid fire hit add to cart, you would see a bunch of network requests, right? So let me hit add to cart, add to cart, add to cart, add to cart. Yeah, we've got a bunch of network requests in here, and that's just really not good for performance. So what I could do instead is once again use watch debounce. Okay, so I'm going to import watch debounced from just say import from at you use core, and then I think it's watch debounce. It is, yeah. Okay, so watch debounce. I'll replace that here, and then we can just add a debounce value. We'll set it to, let's say, 500. Okay. And this time, when I hit, let me make that a little smaller. This time when I hit add to cart multiple times, click, 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 click. Nope, still doing it. Let me just refresh the page. Okay. And this time, let me do it one more time. So add to cart, add, 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 add. Yeah, there we go. So you notice I hit it multiple times there, and now we only get a single request. So this is great. And this really makes watch a viable solution, in my opinion. A lot of times I would stray from using watch because you would overly make requests to your server. But when you can debounce the watch, why not watch things? All right. So that is the first part. Now we need to get that save cart data whenever the user logs in. Okay, so we have saved it when the user updates the cart. Now we need to get that cart data whenever the user logs in. But first, let's just format the request for getting the cart data. And we'll worry about when we should call this function in just a minute. Okay, so here in get cart, first I will just check to see if the user is logged in or not. So inside of this file, there is a logged in user.value, and this will tell us whether there's a logged in user. And then I will also just check to see if there is a local a token stored already inside of local storage. Okay, just to verify that the user is in fact logged in. Okay, and if neither of these things are true, I'll just return early. Now, probably that's an implementation detail that you shouldn't have had to worry about, and maybe should have been in the boilerplate code. So I apologize for that piece. All right, but now we can actually make our request. So once again, we can use our db request helper function. Okay, and then we will make the call to slash carts slash. This is where we want to get the cart with the ID that's stored with the logged in user. So we can say logged in user dot value dot cart ID. Okay, so this is a get request now. So we could say get here, and this is just an implementation detail of that helper method, but we can just leave that off since it's a get request. And now we should be able to get the contents of the cart. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, because our JSON data, our data is stored as JSON inside of Deskree, what I'm going to do is I am going to await the result of this. This should be result equals await. And then I want to parse my JSON, but before I return it out of this function, just because I don't want any other parts of my app to have to worry about that little implementation detail, right? As far as the rest of my app should know, it's just products. It's an array of products, right? So we'll say res.data.products equals json.parse res.data.products. Okay. And then we will return res.data. And that is going to be our array of products from the database. All right. So now we should be able to to get that data from the database. Now the question is, when do we get that data? And so for that, there is a little helper function inside of use Deskree here called, let's see, where is it? We've got auth, and we've got auth on state change. Okay, so because of the way Deskree works in terms of being something more for the front end, we couldn't necessarily use it like on the back end in Nuxt, and so the login exists only on the client side, right? And which is great for most apps. It's not going to affect our SEO at all because our products are still there on the server side. And really, our user just has to interact with their cart on the client side. So that's no problem at all. So this allows us to say, okay, once the page has loaded and the request is made to Deskree to log the user in, only after the user has logged in will this function fire. Okay. So let's use this function in cart store to watch the logged in user. And then after they've logged in, we can set the initial projects in our cart store, the products here, to whatever's inside of the database. Okay, so to do that, I'll say deskree.auth.onAuth state change. Okay, and on auth state change here will receive the user. Okay, and this is a callback function that we can call whenever the auth state changes. So whenever a user is logged in or logged out. All right, so we can say that if there is a user, so in other words, if they are logged in, then let's, well, actually, let's do this the return early way. So if there's not a user, just return early, okay? Otherwise, if there is a user, then we want to call that deskree.user.getCart, okay? So we're going to get the cart, and then, yeah, we should have the data back at that point. So let's just, we'll save that in a variable called res, and then we will console.log res here just to see what we get back. Okay. So, and let me add a message there just so we know it's this. So our cart from Deskree. Perfect. All right. So over here now inside of our app, if I wait for just a moment and on the client side, things log in again. So you can see my name up here in the right-hand corner. And yeah, here we have our cart from Deskree. And in fact, it includes this these products here. And the count was 8. I don't remember exactly how many I added, but we can check that in just a moment with our own test. Okay, so that looks like things are coming back from Deskree. Okay, so just to show you what that request looks like. Okay, here is the GET request to Deskree. So we're calling REST collections carts, and then the ID of the cart we want to fetch, and we just fetch GET, and then the response looks something like this. Okay, it's the data with all the products JSON uncoded. Okay, and like I mentioned before, we are saving a whole lot in there that could definitely be cleaned up, but we're not going to do that today. All right. So now we just need to get this cart data set up here to our products, right? Okay. So then we could just say res.products. For each, and actually, I don't know why I chose to do this in the solution, but I am going to do it here just so I don't have any issues. But basically, I want to loop through my products and then add a product. So I'm calling the add product function, which is right down here. Okay, and it takes a product and a count, and this just makes sure that all the counting is properly added, and you don't have duplicate products in there that just have different counts. So perhaps that's the reason I did it that way and not just set it directly to two products up here. But you could try just literally directly setting this to, it's not this.products anymore, it's products.value equals res.products. That might could work. But since I'm live on here, I'm going to stick with my script just a little bit more. And here we will add the product in, and we will get the product count. Okay, so just looping over each product, adding the product, and yeah, let's see how that's going to work out for us. All right, so I will refresh my page. Okay, give it a second. It does look like I'm logged in now. And we did get our console log that that this has happened, right? But we did not, I don't have the products here in the store, it looks like. Let me open up Pinia, cart store, and yeah, products array is still empty. So why is products array empty? That is a good question. So we console logged res right there. Let me make sure it is what we think it is. So products, oh, okay. So it's empty now. I see what the issue is. Okay. So here is our issue. We are watching our products here, and or do I know the issue? Let's see. We're watching our products, and then we're updating the products. So so here's the question. Did we have a network request to update the products? We did. We had a network request here to update our products. Or no, that's a get. Okay. Well, then let's do this. It's probably something within development that happened with the hot module loading. Let me just give this page a refresh and start a little from scratch here. So I will add a product to my cart. Okay, we got one product added to the cart. I will check out the network tab, and indeed we have the cart item patched. And we are getting, so that was when I loaded the page, we're getting the initial cart stuff just fine. That should have been empty cart, and it was, which is cool. But now when I refresh the page, I expect that my one item should come back into the cart after just a second. Remember, this happens on the front end, so it will take just a second. And yeah, there it is. Awesome. So there is my one item in the cart. The issue here now, though, is that when I update the cart, okay, to insert that initial item, now I'm also making, so this is the GET request, okay, which is cool. The GET request is fine. But now I'm making a patch request because I'm watching my products. And they start out at nothing, and then they get added with that initial value, that initial data, and then it makes the patch request to Deskree, which is technically okay. We're not messing with the data in terms of what's actually accurate, but we're making an unnecessary request, right? So what we can do is I will just I will create a variable up here called const is first load, and we will initialize that to false. So we're saying, is this the first time things are loading? Okay, and then I will, on auth state change, right here we will say is first load.value equals true. Okay, so because we know that the very first time that the user enters a page and they log in, that this load first value is going to be true. Okay, and then after we get our products back from from Deskree, we will set is first load.value equal to false. Okay. And then what we can do is down in our watch statement, which is right up here. Okay. So when we're watching products, we can just say, okay, if it is the first load, then return early. Okay. So in other words, don't don't make the request to Deskree when we're just loading the items. Okay, let's check that out and give it a try one last time and see if things work. So this time when I refresh the page, we should get our one up here, but then we should only get the single request. Okay. And unfortunately, we do get the patch request still, which is curious. Let's see why we might be getting that. So if it is the first load, we're going to return early. And then, oh, I think it's okay. I think because yes, because we are debouncing this watch up here, I did have to add a set timeout right down here and set that to just a little bit after the 500. So we'll say 750, and then only set is load.value equal to false after we just give it a slight timeout to make sure to give way for the bounce there. Okay, I think that's what I've missed. So let's try that one more time. And this time we have the single network request here for the get. We have two get requests. So users, carts. Oh, okay. So this is the request to get the all of the users, and this is the request to get or the current user, and this is the request to get that user's carts. So that's fine. So we do not have the patch request now, which is what we're going for. Awesome. And so now I could add some other items to my cart. Right now you can see we have Rocky's Bacon Hot Sauce. And now I could add Crystal Louisiana's Pure Hot Sauce. Okay, we'll add that to the cart. And then I will refresh my page, give it a second, and yeah, there we go. We have both of the items now inside of our cart. And I think with that we have, oh, let me point out one more thing inside of our permissions here in Deskree. It's just that you do want to, inside of Deskree here, set the permissions for your carts so that only your users can see get by UUID. This should actually be author here. So only your users can update their own cart, and only the users can get their own cart, and that you must be logged in to create a new cart. Okay, and that's kind of how some of the permissions work in Deskree. All right, with that, I think that exercise is good to go. And I know that was a challenging one, guys. So good job to all of you who stuck through it and worked out a solution. And if you eventually peaked on that one just a little bit, I can forgive you. That one was definitely loaded. So, all right. Do we have any questions or any comments? I think I'm going to pass this back to Dmitry now for comments about Deskree. And if you guys have any comments for me in particular, I'd be happy to answer those as well.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Daniel, for taking us through all this exercise. And Dmitry, thank you so much for giving that overview, and also for the thing which you mentioned, for all the credits which the team has given out for the community. It's much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Glad to be a part of it. Yeah, in terms of the exercise, I think we'll definitely love to have more to participate more in events like this in the workshops as well, to showcase different use cases. For example, I've seen there was mentions of like creating guest checkouts and guest cards, and even for example using permissions in a different way. So I think there's a lot of opportunities like that. For example, if you look at permission tab you can actually set up in different ways. And in fact, we also, the permissions that we generate, the middleware, you can actually do that on top of both the database as well as all the integration that you do. So yeah, there's definitely a lot into that. But all in all, I think everything went great, and would love to answer any questions you might have.
Sure. So thank you so much. We have a question. So let me put it on the screen as well while I read the questions. And okay, so the first question is, why not add the persistent part directly to the add function? Would it not be more performant than watch?
Yeah, that's a good point there. I think you kind of run into the same problems you have to solve there, though, because if somebody adds a lot quickly, that add function is still going to fire every time, and so the watch to bounce is kind of a way around that. That yeah, you don't have, you'd still have the same issue. So I don't know that that the other way would solve any issue necessarily that we don't already have.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you so much, Daniel, for answering. We have another question related to watch debounce. So, does watch debounce help with ensuring the updates at the backend happen in order?
Hmm. Um, for this use case, I wouldn't say so. The state is really kind of trying to think. No, it's not going to affect the order at all because you're updating the card each time, and each request is going to, like, each time you hit the button, it's going to cancel out the previous time you hit the button, like in terms of actually making the request. Like, it's never going to try to catch up and do the old one, and you're going to get bad cart data because of the way debounce works, right? So no, I don't think it's going to cause a problem with the order.
Yes. Thank you so much. And we have our next question. Besides the auto-generated REST API for data like the card, what are some other cool features of Dextree?
Good question. Yeah, so essentially the way, so it might seem like we're database centric in terms of the features. Yeah, like you create the database and we generate like both REST and GraphQL's APIs for you. Another few things is we have a lot of integrations, and in fact, we create new integrations on a weekly basis. And if you have an idea of integration that you want to have as a part of Deskree, we actually have a program where you can again receive the credits to the platform by contributing and helping us build those integrations. So the integration is a huge piece. Another piece is the permissions that you can do, which is like an automatic middleware layer that you build, you put on top of both the REST and GraphQL APIs, as well as the each and every integration you activate. We're working on a pretty cool features for big data processing and being able for you to utilize natural language processing when making queries. So that feature is looks pretty promising as well. But for everything like that, again, it's going to be it's going to be very much community based. So we're going to see which ones we're going to be releasing based on your feedback in Discord.
That's awesome. Yeah, looking forward to see which will be the new features then. Uh, I think this is ready to permission. The next question, how Dexkree knows which card belongs to which user and thus limit access?
Very good one. So the idea for that is actually the database per se that we're using in the backend is not a standard one. There's actually a whole layer built on top of that with certain like helper functions, right? For example, one of them is storage. So if you create your database and select data type as a storage, we're actually gonna upload the data that you send to us, either from URL or base64. Don't upload that to storage and give you the actual URL you can use. When we describe that in the Webflow workshop. And the other helper that we have is author. So every time you send a request to Deskree and you include the authorization header, we're actually going to be tracking the author of that object when it was created. So in essence, we transforming the authorization header into user UID, and that's how we're going to be tracking like who was the person who initially created that object, which in this case can be used in terms of cards, or the other way around, like was used in this case, like when we have a user and we create a card table, and then we did a reference from user to cards as one to one or one to many, and then we can fetch them this way as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for explaining that so nicely. Uh, so we have another question. This is a classic one with when we talk about APIs and databases. So can we use GraphQL with Deskree instead of a REST API?
Yeah, you definitely can. There is actually, I would say, to people who like GraphQL, there is more like advanced functionality to it in Deskree that it exists with REST API. For example, ability like natural abilities of GraphQL to deep querying and including like includes and things like that. So yeah, you can definitely have GraphQL, and you can have REST API. The only thing is GraphQL is available for the databases that you create, and not for the integrations.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much for answering that question. We have another question, quite generic, but why did you choose Vue.js to build Xquery?
We actually been discussing that together with the team today. Well, reason for that is a few reasons. First of all, like emotional attachment, because that was the first framework that I learned back in the day. Second thing, we actually used Vue.js for a long time now as a team. And the third reason, I mean, it's an amazing tool that I think there is a amazing balance in Vue.js between flexibility and and structure. Let's put it this way, because like if you want, you can use that for quick prototyping. But if you want that to work very robust with like type checking things like that, you can still build it that way. And I think that as a young company and as a young product, that flexibility was something of very high importance to us.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Uh, I do have another question which I was like curious about because yeah, you like to learn new things every week. So, what was the most recent thing which you learned?
Great question. I think there's a lot of things. I don't know. I just find it interesting. Last thing I learned was actually building. I'm trying to build jet engines in my basement.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that started because we bought to my 2 years old daughter. We both bought an IKEA kitchen for kids, and then I started learning Arduino. And for some reason, I decided to build a jet powered drone and jet powered drone. So like it can fly up and down. So I'm designing the jet engines right now. It's obviously has some issues with that. So hopefully going to do test flight next year. But
So play kitchen to jet engines. Okay.
That is so cool.
Thank you.
Wow, like these are some nice hobbies for sure. This is so amazing. Maybe we will get to see a peak next time, whatever we're
Hopefully,
building.
hopefully, I'm not going to blow up anything. So
Yeah, let's hope not. Uh, awesome. Thank you so much again, Dimitro, for coming today and letting us know about Dexkey as well as answering all these amazing questions and giving your insights. It was really nice having you here
thank you.
today with us.
Thank you very much for having me, and glad to be a part of it.
Thank you. And also, Daniel, thank you so much once again. Like, you have been with us throughout the day as master of code and showing us all the exercises and everything. Thank you so much.